Okay, so here is part 2 of Hobie Week, and we are still down on the Tasmanian tour. We're on the Swan River, only we're not. We have been moved to the Scamander. So weather conditions down there proved too difficult to run it on the Swan, so they moved it up to Scamander. And what happened, I think, was a pretty awesome event. Like I said in the previous episode, it really leveled the field. People went in there really blind, which was kind of cool. No pre-fish. People just trying to work it out on the day with very little experience. I think a really good event. Thanks again to Joel Crosbie for jumping in 4th spot to tell us how he did it. Anyway, let's roll the intros and I'll tell you about the bite periods and what happened on the Scamander.
Welcome to the Lure Fishing Project, where Australia's best lure anglers share their tips and stories to help you catch more fish and have more fun on the water. Here's your host, Andrew D.
Look, I got to tell you, I'm still loving the new intro. It still makes me happy every time I play it. I hope you guys are enjoying it too. Okay, for this one, we had 17 in the fish activity wheel again. The major bite period was at 5:39 through to 8:09 a.m. Low tide was at 9:59 a.m. at 0.52, running up to a high tide at 4:13 p.m. at 1.08. The major bite period on day 2, which was the Sunday, who knew, back on the weekend, was 30. We had 30 in the fish activity wheel with a major bite period at 6:26 a.m. through to 8:56. Low tide was at 10:34 a.m. at 0.5, running up to a high tide at 4:51 at 0.12. Okay, let's do a couple of the divisions for this one. So the Anaconda Big Brim winner this time was Evan Leonard with a 1.22. The Monster Mover was Selwyn Edson, so he was a first timer in the last one. 0.5 on day 1. Wound up getting a 2.48 kilo bag on day 2. How good is that? Ethan Howard, first in the youth division at 3.44. The women's angler was none other than Tamika Purnell with a total fish, so full bag at 3.08. And the masters went to Naughty, Mr. Hurricane himself, with a 6-fish bag at 3.94. How good is that? All right, I think we'll get straight into the angler interviews. Here we go. So in 4th place, we have an angler dropping a 3-fish weighing a 2.52 on day 1. Day 2, he backed it up with another bag of 2.22, giving him 6 fish for 4.74 and 4th place for the second time in Tasmania. I'd like to welcome back to the Brim Fishing Project, Mr. Joel Crosbie. Welcome back, mate.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks for having me again. It's a bit weird coming 4th and getting on the show, but I'll take it.
You take it, man. And look, it was a good effort for you. 2 4ths in Tasmania, a Scamander, obviously no pre-fish. Pretty cool result.
Yeah, and having not actually fished the venue before either it was different to the other tournaments where we always get a bit of a pre-fish and at least a look around the joint. Yeah, to go in completely blind. There was a fair bit of scrambling on the Friday, trying to do as much research as I could because I enjoy my research before a comp. So, yeah, it was a fair bit of scrambling on the Friday and the Thursday night to try and get my head around the arena.
The arena. And look, I think it's probably telling that when you look at the results, the first 3 guys are Tasmanians. So they've obviously had some sort of chance to fish it before, whether it's in recent times or way back.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, look, I've driven over there. I've been to Tassie quite a few times, and I've driven over the Scamander once or twice. But yeah, I've never stopped in there and had a fish. So it was cool to check it out.
That's it. And mate, it seems that you had the curse of 60 grams for this double up.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, we were discussing just before at Little Swanport. I was 4th again, and it was 60 grams behind Mitch Maddow, and 60 grams again at Scamander, which was, I mean, like I said, if you'd given me 2 4ths before we got there, I would have taken it. Yeah. But it was also, on the flip side, it was a little bit frustrating that, both times only by 60 grams. And both guys, actually, Michael and Mitch both said, chatting afterwards, they both said they got upgrades in the last 20 minutes of both comps. So it was even more so frustrating that they got those late upgrades. So, but I'll take 2 4ths.
100%. All right, let's get down to it, mate. Tell us about what you thought you were going to do and then what happened.
So, look, there wasn't a lot of info on Scamander. There's little bits and pieces, but not really relevant to what we were doing. So it was basically just suck it and see. And yeah, my plan was just to pedal around and try and find, because it was basically just a river. You can't spread out as such. It's just finding bits and pieces along the way. And on the Saturday morning, the weather was pretty rugged, which was why the competition got moved, because we wouldn't have been able to fish the swan in those conditions. It was bad. So I actually, on the Saturday, I actually went in and found the windiest bank I could that was the most unpleasant to fish, knowing that probably no one else is going to be fishing it. So that's where I started. And I also knew that in the research, the fish were a lot smaller than what we were encountering at Little Swan Port and what would have been the swan if we'd been there. I downgraded my lures slightly, and I was throwing the Daiwa grub, the 2.5-inch grub, on I think it was a 1/16 jig head, just along the banks, just targeting structure, lots of fallen timber in the water and stuff like that. So I started doing that, got a few small fish early on, and basically just worked my way slowly up the system.
Okay.
I probably pedalled for 4 or 5 Ks before I started fishing, just to lose a few people and know that I had some clean water in front of me.
Sure.
Because there was probably 4 or 5 in front of me, I think. Yeah, and so when I turned around and once everyone had dropped off, that's when I was like, okay, cool, I'll start fishing now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so...
Tell me about the bank structure. Is it tree-lined? Is it grassy edge? What's it look like?
There's a bit of everything. So where I started, on one side of the river, it was like tussocky grass, and then on the other side was all like big standing timber and bits and pieces falling in on the edges, and it was quite a drop off too. Like I was sitting like a cast length out. I was probably sitting in 2.5 meters.
Okay.
So it dropped off pretty quick, but there was certainly lots of structure and undercut banks to cast at.
Yeah, nice.
So so that's where I started. I think I got a couple of little legals early on the 2.5-inch grub. It was pretty frustrating though. Like the wind was howling, and I'm not the best caster at the best of times.
Okay.
So I spent half my morning going in and getting bits and pieces unsnagged and busting off lures, and but that's why I stuck to the soft plastics, just to reduce the losses.
Mate, you needed the BG hard on soft, mate. That would have been all right.
Yes, that would have actually been, it would have been the perfect scenario to fish that, because it was good structure to fish. Like, it was fun.
Yeah.
But lots of little fish, like lots of undersized fish. So you had to work through the fish to find some half decent fish. Yeah, so I did that. I got to the end of that bank and come to quite a large bend, and it dropped off even deeper, and it was more a rocky deep edge. But I saw someone fish that earlier on, but I still fished it, and it was out of the wind a bit then, so it was a little bit easier to cast. And I missed a few fish on that rocky bank. I got one in particular, one big dark bream came out, followed the lure all the way back to the yak, but didn't commit. So that gave me a little bit of confidence that I was certainly in the right area. So I continued working my way up. This was probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. So I went around the next couple of corners and then found another bank where it was sheltered on one side. So a couple of guys were fishing on the sheltered side, and I went to the non-sheltered side again with more timber. This was a bit flatter. This one, it was probably only I think I was sitting in 1.8 meters off this bank.
Okay.
And I finished my bag off there. Nothing huge. Like, they're only like 27, 28, 29 forkers, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then, so I fished that bank all the way up, got a few legals, no upgrades. And then right at the end of that bank, that straight, I decided I wasn't going any further than that end of that straight. So for some reason, I actually just spun around, and I had the old faithful, the old 1/8, 3.5-inch Seaman grub.
Yep.
I actually swung around and cast that into the middle.
Yep.
Or actually, not so much in the middle, parallel along that bank. So, by that stage, it was dropping off a bit. So it was about just over 2 meters. And had a cast in the middle of nowhere, parallel with the bank, and clunked I think it was a 35 forker.
Nice.
So I was like, cool, that's the kind of fish we're looking for.
Yeah.
Pretty handy. And then tried to do that so I actually turned around and then worked my way back down along that bank, but fishing out wider, and got a few smaller ones, but no other upgrades or anything like that. So by that stage, it would have been probably closer to midday. So I started making my way back down, and down pretty much opposite where I started. First thing in the morning, I bumped into Gary Hansen, who I was staying with and traveling with for the week. And he told me that he'd got a few fish off that bank. So it was actually that, what I was talking about before, there was a tusky bank on the opposite side to the one I started on. And it was a flat, like it was a deeper flat off that bank. So it was a very gradual slope off that bank. That was about, sitting in the middle of the river there, it was only about 1.82 metres deep.
Okay.
And he just told me that he'd got a couple of fish just off the edge on deeper cranks. So I let him fish the edge where he was fishing, and I actually hung out on that deeper flat area in that 1.82 metres and started throwing the old faithful again, the 1/8, 3.5 inch Z-Man grub, and actually got a few smaller upgrades. And then I think I waited for big brim on day one, and I think it was just over a kilo brim out there. Wow. So, yeah, so that was a good little upgrade on the fish that I'd encountered. They were quite small, so to get a kilo fish, I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah.
So I just fished that area for the rest of the day. The weather got worse, started raining, windier, colder, and then by that stage it was the end of the day. It was time to head back, and I was happy with what I'd caught. Yeah, given I hadn't seen the venue before or fished it, I was pretty happy with that, and it made the plan for day two a bit easier too. Like I had my plan sorted by that stage too.
Yeah.
Fishing to my strengths, I like to fish that deeper water with heavier jig heads and bigger soft plastics. Yeah, so that was pretty much the end of day one. Pedaled back in the rain and I think I picked up a few smaller fish on the way back, but nothing to upgrade or anything like that. So.
Yeah, fair enough. Mate, you got one of the better bags for the day. You ended up with 2.52, which it looks like you might have had you in the second overnight.
Yeah, I was in second, yes, which was a surprise.
Yeah, very good. All right, so tell us about day two. Tell us how that turned out for you.
So day two, pretty much the same plan. I didn't bother fishing the bank that I started on first thing, which was I only seemed to encounter smaller fish there, so I gave that away. When I pedalled up, I kept an eye on that flat that I finished off on at the end of the day. No one was fishing that, so I left that and I went up to the bank. That's that last bank that I fished on the way up, where I got a few legals off in the timber. So I actually started there and fished the timber. I think I was actually racing Tony Petty up at that stage because he was fishing similar areas. So I did enough to beat him there.
Fair enough.
That was just for a personal thing, just to beat him there. No other reason. I didn't mind fishing next to him anyway, but that was just for me, my competitive side.
That's it. You wanted him to know.
Exactly right. Yes, just reminding that I still got it. Yeah. And started fishing that bank again on the timber edge, and I got a couple of small legals there, but it certainly wasn't fishing as well as it was on day one. And I wanted to make my way up to that spot where I got that 35 forker.
Were you still on the small grub?
When I was fishing the structure, I was still fishing the 2.5 inch bait junkie.
Grub. Colour?
Motor roll.
Yep.
Yep, simple.
And was it, if you're fishing the edges, was it just basically try and get it in close to the structure, let it sink down, then twitch it back?
Absolutely, yeah. Just hopping it back. Funny enough, the trees that I got fish on day one seem to still have fish on them on day two.
Okay.
So they seem to be on certain trees. So, fished all those trees again, got a couple of small legals, nothing crazy. I wanted to go back to that spot where I got that 35 forker on day one in the middle of nowhere. Got there, fished there. I got quite a few hits but couldn't hook up. So I think there was quite a few smaller fish in the area as well.
Okay.
Fished there for a bit, didn't do very good. I think I only had 2 fish at that stage, 2 legals in the bag. So I actually worked my way just straight back down the middle of the river, fishing about 2.5 metres of water, throwing that 3.5 inch grub, and got a couple of trevally, a couple of undersized fish, but nothing to get excited about. Went back down around, and the plan then was to go back to that flat where I finished on day one and just spend the rest of the day there grinding it out.
Yeah.
And I had a feeling that there was going to be a good number of fish there. On the way there, about a couple of 100 metres up from that, I'd noticed no one had fished at a certain part of the bank just upstream from that. Pretty much every single person had gone past it. So on the way back, I fished a couple of trees along there. I think I got a 31 forker off one of those trees to fill out the bag. Yeah, which wasn't bad.
Yeah.
And then, so I think I had the bag by then. And then, just went back to that flat and just ground it out for the rest of the day. And I probably got a half dozen upgrades there. Just 100 grams here, 150 grams there, just slowly building the bag up. But just couldn't find that kicker that I needed, like I found on day one. But yeah, just a 2.5-inch grub. 3.5-inch grub, 1/8 jig head, motor oil, and I had pretty much had that area to myself for most of the day. So I actually went in a little bit closer to the bank to fish a little bit shallower, and then later on in the day I actually went out a bit deeper where it dropped off right in the middle of the river there and dropped off to 2.1, 2.2 meters deep. And the fish were actually spread out everywhere.
Okay.
It was just a matter of putting your lure in front of the fish. But yeah, like I said, I just couldn't get that kicker that I was looking for.
Yeah. And when you're on the flats and what have you, how are you fishing it? What was a retrieve like?
Just the usual pretty aggressive hop. As soon as it hits the bottom, I'm whipping it straight back up, 2 or 3 short, sharp jabs, and then letting it sink again.
Yeah.
I probably got 15 fish off that flat.
Okay.
And most of them were legals.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so there was certainly plenty of fish there. You couldn't actually see them on the sounder.
Okay.
But there was nothing coming up on the side scan or anything like that.
Yeah, wow. That was one of my questions. Yeah, that was one of my questions. So, yeah.
I was looking for them, but, yeah, very little came up on the sounder. It was just, it just seemed to be in the right spot. And they just must have been spread out enough that the sounder wasn't picking them up.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they were certainly there. And then, actually on day 2, Tony Betty came past and actually fished with me for probably an hour and a half on that second day, and he was catching fish as well. Okay. I don't think he got too many legal fish, but he's certainly catching fish as well.
Yeah.
So, so that was it, mate. It was, it was a pretty short, sharp competition because, no pre-fish, not much to think about. It was just go fishing.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good to me. While you were down there for the 2 days, what sort of weight were you running? What sort of lines and leaders?
So it was 4-pound leader. I just used the Dyro, is it X-Link?
Yep.
I've been using that for a while now, and I can't fault it. I've got no idea what braid I'm using because I've got random braid on all my reels. 6, 8, 10-pound braids, the thinnest I could get at the time. Yeah. And like I said, 1/8 jig head. I've been using the 1/0 1/8.
Okay. So
for the 3.5 inch grubs, it covers them almost down to the tail. And if you put the size 1 and the 1/0 side by side, the actual gape, there's not a lot of difference in the gape. I don't think you're going to miss many fish. Even the smaller fish eat it, no worries as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that just a TT or a bait junkie?
The bait junkie. Yeah, okay. The bait junkies are good. Same thing. I've been using them for a while now. I didn't believe all the hype about you not needing super glue and stuff like that, but you don't.
Yeah.
So when I was throwing in the snags, I was using the hidden weight bait junkie.
Yeah.
Just for a bit more. I don't know. They seem to be slightly more snag resistant, the hidden weights.
Yeah, it could be
It must just be the way they sit in the water.
Yeah.
But when I was out in the open, it was straight back to the standard jig head and the old power fishing, mate.
Very good. All right. All in all, that was enough to bring you back with a 4.74. Good enough for 4th place. What did you get to take home?
I can't remember, mate. I think it was 350 or 345. 300. 335.
100%. Mate, you're all over it.
I couldn't remember. It was, It was weird because I think Little Swanport was $5 difference to Scamander. So I think there must be one person less.
Yeah.
In one of them. So, But, And then a bag of goodies, as always.
Yeah, very
Unfortunately,
nice.
no trophy, though.
No trophy. Oh, well.
No.
Never mind, mate. Never mind. Like you said, you'd take 4th if you could get it.
Absolutely, for sure.
Very good. All right, mate. Look, last thing before we shoot off, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, obviously Scott Lovig from Lovig Kayak. I can't remember his new name now. Yeah, Lovig Kayak Fishing.
Yep.
He's looked after me for a long time now and still does. So still haven't got the bay boots yet.
Come on.
I really need to go see him. I might actually go see him in the next couple of weeks, given we're coming into winter.
It's time of year. It's so good.
I think it might be time.
No one's special.
Thank you. Yeah. So thank you to him, as always. Thank you to my beautiful partner, Carla, for letting me go. We were sort of, given what was happening in the world at the time, we were umming and ahhing about whether or not it was worthwhile doing it. But I'm certainly glad I did. We had actually had a holiday planned afterwards, but given what was going on in the world, we put the kibosh on that. So that'll have to wait till next time. So I'll make sure next time she comes down for a holiday.
Yeah.
Thank you to my roommates for the week, to Gary Hansen and Dave Ayton and Lee Kirshner from South Australia.
Very cool.
Good crew. We had plenty of laughs for the week. And thank you to the Tassie boys for putting on barbecues and stuff every day. That was very much appreciated. Obviously, Hobie as well. The team, that's probably the one, like I've said previously, it's my favourite comp to go down to, the two Tassie ones. So, yeah, it's awesome. Just even driving to Little Swanport the first part of the week, I forget how beautiful the drive is from Swansea. We all stay at Swansea, but the drive down from Swansea to Little Swanport is just stunning. So you pretty much hug the coastline and looking out over Freycinet Peninsula the whole way, and it's just beautiful. Unfortunately, this time I had to drive. Last time I had a driver, so I could enjoy the view a lot more. This time I had to be a bit careful where I was going. But yeah. Thanks to Hobie for putting it on, and obviously the boys in Tassie for doing all the hard work behind the scenes. Yeah, it was a good fun week.
Very good. All right, mate. Look, thanks for jumping on and having a quick chat. And, mate, I hope to see you in the Georges in a couple of weeks.
Leave it with me. I'll try and get there.
All right, mate. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. See ya.
All right, so first up in the third place, we have an angler dropping his 3 fish on the Saturday for 2.37, backing it up on the Sunday with another 3 fish for 2.43, which gave him a total of 4.8 kilo. And third place from Tasmania, I have Michael Alexander. Welcome to the show, mate.
Thank you.
Mate, that is a great result in what was probably a bit of a tougher comp for Tasmania than what we might have expected.
It was relatively tough, especially with the wind.
Yeah, well, I was on the main then while this was being recorded, and I thought they were going to call the whole comp. I thought they wouldn't run it, but fortunately they made the move to run up to Scamander and have a bit of a go.
Yeah, and it was good. Even without a pre-fish, it was still really good.
Yeah, that was my next question. It's like, in terms of getting ready for the comp, did you have you fished there, or what was the story?
We fished there for about 2 or 3 years ago, I think, the last time.
Okay.
Yeah, recent. If we're going to go down that way, usually I'm at St Helens or somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was just going, obviously, where to plan, just to fish anywhere, head up the river.
Yeah, okay. And what would you typically target before you get in the water? What do you think is going to be a plastic spite or a jerk bait, or what are you thinking?
I tied on 3 jig heads and no lures, and I had about 6 rods with me, but I tied on a zip bait on my way out up to the first spot.
Okay.
And that was what I started with.
Okay, so a zip bait what?
Riggy SP in the 223.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that colour, but
here. It's silver sides, orange belly, bit of a brown top on it.
Okay. All right. Very cool. All right. And how long did it take you to catch a fish?
3rd or 4th cast, I caught my biggest fish for the day.
Wow. Okay.
I thought it was about 1 kilo at the time, but looked at me well later, it would have been about 900, roughly. It wasn't that big.
Yeah, okay. And you said you headed upriver, so does that mean you were hitting the banks and snags and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, just started Rocky Edge for about, I wouldn't even been halfway up, or there's a big flat to the right, and I just started the opposite side of where the entrance to that is. It's like a big bay.
Yeah, okay.
And then just fished that Rocky Edge.
Okay. All right. So 3rd or 4th cast, you put a fish in the well. Obviously, it's a weight off because you know you're not getting a donut.
Yeah, it's much better than looking at a donut.
100%. All right. Well, let's move on. How'd you go about putting a couple more in there?
I had a couple more casts. By the time I'd moved about 20 or 30 metres, I'd already had 3. Another undersize and then a 27 tip, which I obviously put in the bag because at that stage you didn't know how it was going to go. And then just kept moving along. I think I had 5 by 9:30.
Okay.
So I upgraded twice in that time.
Yeah, okay.
They weren't big upgrades, though. It was only like a centimetre each time. They were only up to 29 tip. And the first one was, I don't know what length that was actually.
Yeah. And are they all on the riggy?
All on the riggy.
Okay.
Yep. Then the sun popped up a little bit higher over the little hill that I was under. So I actually changed the sprat then and in the machete with a 120th.
Okay.
And just continued all along and just kept picking them up. There was plenty of fish there and they were chilling.
Yeah.
And then once I finished one pass, I just turned around, done the same, paddle back up and done the same section again.
Okay. So the sprat, how did you fish it? Were you into the edge and working it back down the drop off over the rocks and what have you?
Yeah, it was fairly parallel. With the wind, it was very hard. So it was basically, I put my power pole down the deep water and it was just going in till I fouled up. And it was basically about 3 metres off the bank and running parallel with it. Just a long cast and just working along the drop off the whole way.
Yeah, right.
Just very slow. Even with the zip bait, it was a real long pause to start with. And yeah, they were just coming on very slow movements.
Yeah, okay. And how did that continue throughout the day? Did you continue to get them or would you have bite periods?
So by about 10:30, so after a couple of hours, I was planned on moving up further and going upriver more. Then I broke my seat, so I didn't go anywhere. So I just went back and done another pass. So it's up to about 11:30 then, by the time I done my third pass over it.
Yeah.
And I managed to get a stick and fix me seat a little bit so I could paddle.
Yep.
And then I went upriver. So they were still fishing well up until then, and then when I went upriver,
So any of those as late upgrades or just?
No, I didn't upgrade after about, I think I had a 800 by about 10:30, and there must have been, one that was roughly 600 grams, about the only one I actually weighed for the day though. That was by 11:30, so by the time I'd done that. So the other two, they were size fish up the river, but they just weren't as big.
Sure. Okay. And it's interesting, like you said, the seat broke. Like you can't paddle distance if the seat's moving.
No, one side of it was lying back, so it was very uncomfortable.
Yep.
So I just found a stick on the bank and twitched it around a couple of times and tied it up with me power pole remote. So
nice.
Keep on going.
Love it. It's like MacGyvering the Hobie seat.
It took a while to think of how I could fix it, but yeah, now it's pulled apart in the shed.
Fair enough. What kayak are you on?
Outback.
An Outback. Okay, so like the new shape or the old shape?
Yeah, the 2019, I think it is.
2019. Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, it started the new ones.
Yeah. All right. So what I take from that, you basically fished edges. You've got a zip bait riggy and a sprat, and that was pretty much you for the day.
Yep, it was basically it. Planned on fishing all the way back. Oh, my life, well, actually, my battery died on that, so I didn't really fish up the top as much as I needed.
Yep.
Went and found the wife and stole the battery off her sounder to keep my live well going.
Yep.
Yeah, just to keep them alive. Yeah, and then the wind blew in the last half hour, so we ended up in pretty early.
Okay.
Just pushed us in. We didn't really have a lot of choice in the matter of the water. And that was about it for the day.
Very good. Mate, where did you say you were third overnight?
Yeah, third overnight.
So that's a great place to be.
Yeah, it's better than I thought, actually. I didn't think I'd be sitting there.
Yeah. There you go. All right. What was your plan for Sunday? Rinse and repeat?
Yeah, I wanted to start in the same place, so straight up to there. I didn't throw the zip bait. I just stuck with the sprat. I threw it a couple of times, but I didn't land anything on it.
Yeah.
I started with sprat, and in the first pass, I only landed 2 fish. One was about a 33 fork.
Okay.
And the other was 26.5 tip, which is just size.
Wow.
Yep. So they were both in the bag.
Okay.
Second pass, I ended up getting the bag. I caught up to 5 by then.
Okay.
And then they fished all day. All actually on that pass, I then powered my power pole down. It never come back up. The top of it fell off and I lost that. So I was without that. So I was on the pedals all day that day. But so I didn't actually go upriver. I didn't plan to.
Right.
So I just kept doing that same pass and got a few fish. And then I actually went for calmer water just so I didn't have to paddle as much.
Okay. Yeah.
Just went fishing edges were a bit protected from the wind.
Yeah. Okay. And so you fished all this. So you had a bit of failure there. You fished all this with your seat. Was your seat upright or was it still?
Yeah. No, I had fixed it enough overnight.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, rigged it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in terms of rounding out the day, how did you get any more upgrades?
Yeah. So I'd had, I don't know, about 1.7, 1.8 kilo by, I don't know, most of the day, really, probably from about 11:30. And just started making my way back to the start, really, and just fishing all the edges on the way. A few small fish, didn't really get upgrades there. With about half hour to go, near the start line, I cast not far away from where the bridge is, but just on a sandy edge on the drop-off, and upgraded by about 500 grams.
Nice.
And then followed that up with another one, probably another 100-gram upgrade. So, and I had 3 fish in the world that were all about the same size. So
wow.
roughly about 800 each.
Yeah, okay.
About 34 fork.
Yep. So your main upgrades and third place was basically in that last little bit of the competition.
Yeah, before that I was definitely going down the leaderboard, but a couple of fish just turned it around. Or else Joel would have had me.
That's right. Yeah, I think we said before you started, you're basically 60 grams better than the day before, and that was the difference between you and Joel in fourth place.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that definitely made a difference.
Okay, they all come from the one lure on the Sunday?
I'd actually changed the last 2 fish were on a cleaver. Same on the sprat, 1/20th, but I'd changed to a cleaver for about the last 3 fish down that section.
Okay. Interesting. And
the water's just a little bit clearer, so I changed.
Okay, and that's the 75, isn't it? The one with the fork tail?
Yeah, the fork tail one, 75.
Yeah, okay. All right, there you go. Okay, to obviously decent fish. What sort of leader were you running for the comp?
I was running 4 pounds straight through on both rods.
4 pounds straight through. Okay, what's your favourite brand?
Like a Famil. There's, I think Sniper was on one and Famil was on the other.
Yeah. All right. And then in terms of across the 2 days, did you lose any fish? Did you lose anything that would have made a difference?
No, I wouldn't say anything. Even the small fish were pulling hard though, so it's hard to tell what you had. And I wouldn't say. We've lost a few fish obviously, but I didn't see any that were great.
Yeah, okay. There you go. All right, mate. It's like we said, it turned out pretty good. You ended up with 4.8 kilos, just ahead of Joel in fourth. And third place, what'd you get to take home?
A trophy, a fake check, which I was pretty happy with.
Absolutely.
It's one of my favourites. A bag of plastics and other stuff of all the sponsor products. And a bottle of Boomer Creek Pinot, which was very good.
Nice. Yeah, I think all the people that I've spoken to are pretty happy with the wine that came out.
Yeah, I'll have to get another one now.
I think that's the plan.
Yeah.
There you go. And I think from here, it looks like you got $505 to go with it.
Yeah, that was, yep.
Very good. All right, Michael, look, last thing before we shoot off, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
Just yourself, the podcast, Hobie, run the good event with the Lonnie Angling Club, and that's about it, really.
Fantastic, mate. Fantastic. Mate, congratulations. It's fantastic to have a chat with you. And, good luck in whatever you're fishing next.
Yep, no worries, mate. Thank you.
Okay, so up next in first place, we have an angler dropping his 3 fish on day one at 2.71 kilos, backing it up with a 3.03 for 3 fish, giving it a total bag weight of 5.74 and fourth place. I have Evan Leonard. Welcome to the show, mate.
Hi, Dathy. Thanks for having me.
Mate, good to have you back on. Mate, what a cracking win. 3 kilo bag to bring it home. How good's that?
Yeah, it was awesome. So I didn't think it was actually that big. I was telling Isaac in the line, I think I've got about 2.8.
Yep.
But I think my scales were lying to me. So I sandbagged him a little bit there, but that was unintentional.
Yeah, but still solid win, like 600 grams in a 6-fish limit is pretty good going.
Yeah, very happy with that.
Very good. As everyone knows, this one was a bit of a mix-up but a change of venue kind of threw everyone off. What about yourself, mate? Is Scamander, is that somewhere you'd normally fish?
I fished it a couple times later in the year, so like November-ish. The Tasmanian Kayak Series have this kind of a comp there every 2 years out of 3. They launch way upriver near the Trout Creek entrance, and so you're fishing at the headwaters there, and I've not really fished the mouth before, so it was a bit of a new experience for me.
In terms of getting ready for this comp, when they changed the venue, What did that mean for you? What did you think you were going to get up to?
I guess it kept my options pretty limited. It was definitely a surprise. Had all my gear ready for a bit of rack fishing in the Swan or some topwater action on the back flat. But I guess some of what I was going to throw in the racks on the Swan was actually what I was able to use where I was fishing at Scamander.
Yeah.
So that worked out all right. I was prepared. But yeah, it meant that my, I guess, scouting mission a month and a half beforehand of the Swan was meaningless.
Yes.
But that's all right. So I'd much rather be in the Scamander given the weather conditions. And yeah, it wasn't really that big of a deal in the end.
No, and to be fair, like you guys at the top of the field there, starting with Michael at 4.8, so nearly 5 kilos, it dropped away quickly with Joel just under that, and then down to 4.2 and then 4. Like you guys ran away with it a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a home ground advantage. And with the weather not really allowing for a pre-fish, I think it meant that, yeah, many of the Tasmanians had a bit of a advantage, kind of knowing the area. But yeah, it was still tough fishing, and I don't think it fished the way anyone thought it was going to.
Okay, interesting. And when you say that, did you expect it to be easier or harder?
I expected it to be a little bit harder. So with the weather came a little bit of rain, and while we expected the fish to be pushed down towards the mouth, because the mouth had been closed for quite some time, I think we expected there to be some bigger fish in more numbers. And yeah, so I guess the top 3 all fished in very different areas too. So that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, okay. Very cool. All right, let's get around to the Saturday. Tell us how you went about catching your fish. What'd you get up to?
I guess a common theme, I think, in some of your podcasts that I listen to is that lots of the winners, there's normally a game plan, and if you want to just win, you stick to it and you do nothing but that.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did.
Okay.
I went straight towards the mouth and sat under the bridge and fished the pylons for all of Saturday. I think I probably moved maybe 450 metres the whole day, and essentially just bounced between the 4 pylons. Tried to stay in my kayak during the big squalls that came through.
Yeah, wow.
That was a bit challenging.
Yep.
But yeah, and I think that was a well-known place that the bream were going to be hanging out. At the start of the day, I think there were probably 8 or 9 people who followed me and picked their spot around the bridge to fish. But then as the weather got worse and worse, people started dwindling. They realised that staying in the kayak was getting harder and harder, and actually fishing in that kind of wind lane that the bridge created was actually quite difficult and pretty miserable. And so kind of by 2.5 hours in, I was left by myself to the pylons, and that's kind of when it started kicking off for me.
Okay.
So without that kind of fishing pressure on the pylon, it let me position myself wherever I wanted, and it meant I could rest certain pylons and certain spots along the bridge after I've caught a fish, or I could angle in quite greedily, covering other holes. But it meant that I could angle myself into the wind and get that cast where I wanted it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that proved to be pretty difficult in the wind. And in the end, I was casting up. I guess the pylon just concrete, and it kind of comes straight down, and you just cast on top of the concrete and just kind of twitch the plastics I was using in this case off the edge, so it falls right down along the side of that concrete. And because if the plastic wasn't right along that pylon, you weren't going to catch anything.
Yeah, okay. That surprised me. So what were you throwing at him?
It's a combination of Risky Critter in motor oil and New Zealand grub in motor oil.
Oh, yeah.
I'd rotate through those two just so that the brim underneath his pylons didn't keep seeing the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, as light as I could possibly go in the winds, which I think at the start was probably about a 1/16th.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, it was probably a 1/12th, and just pedaling into the wind as hard as I could, trying to stop the line catching too much wind and pulling that lure through the water.
Absolutely. All right. So you're casting upwind with what is still relatively light lures. What sort of water depth are you fishing there?
I guess the pylon that I was catching most of my fish off of was in about 0.4 of a metre.
Okay.
But what happens at the pylon is it drops away. So about a foot off the pylon, the sand just drops down underneath and all the brims sit right underneath the concrete. So there must be a little hole underneath it that they all sit in. So if you can get your plastic in there where they can see it, they'll generally come out and, check it out.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, well, tell us about some of the captures, because that sounds like some pretty gnarly stuff to try and pull a brim out of.
Yeah, I think really I was quite lucky. I was only fishing 6 pound, and you'd roll your plastic through, let it hit the bottom, do a couple small twitches, and then let it have your nice long pause of kind of 5 to 8 seconds. And normally the next pause would get you. I think the long pause got them interested, and then the following short pause was when they generally hit it.
Yeah, right.
But you'd have to do a bit of a bass set to get them out. So, you were, as soon as you felt that dunk, you were setting the hook as fast as possible and trying to get them out from under that hole into the shallow, sandy area. And then they were generally pretty well behaved.
All right. So throughout the day, you got 2.71. Was it a slow build, or did you get them early or late?
It was certainly a bit hotter early on. Yeah, once everyone else left the pylons, the bite took off. Yeah. And there was probably a lull period just after lunch where I didn't have a touch for maybe an hour. But then, if I kept moving between pylons, generally every 15 to 25 minutes, you'd get a touch. I don't think I missed too many that day.
Okay.
It was, I guess it took me all day, and every now and then I'd get a small upgrade. Everything was between that 600 to 900 gram mark, with nothing being too big on day one.
Yeah, okay. And with your kayak, which kayak are you fishing out of?
The PA14 360.
Okay. Yeah, that was what I was. So the advantage of that is if you're getting blown around by the wind, at least you're a chance of steering the kayak.
Yeah, it was pretty chaotic, and I don't think I could have done it without the 360, to be honest, because every now and then when you had your, 35 knot gusts come through, it was, just grabbing the sides, trying to stay in the kayak and trying to push it into the wind, because otherwise you'd end up hitting the sandbar right behind the bridge and potentially flipping over.
Ouch. All right. That sounds like a whole lot of fun. All right. And in terms of fish for the day, do you get a bunch, or what sort of numbers do you get?
Yeah, day one was really good to me. I think I would have caught probably 12 to 15 fish, with only maybe 4 of those being under, less than 600 grams, and everything else being pretty much the same size. Yeah. Yeah, I think quite a few people did well on day one, but maybe didn't catch that many fish. I think most people caught 10 to 12.
Yeah. And was there did they fish go one way or the other with regards to the plastics? Were they more in tune with the risky critter or the grub?
No, I didn't really notice a difference, to be honest. I think I threw the risky critter more just because I like that profile. Yeah. But no, they were pretty consistent in the timing rather than what I was throwing.
Okay, very good. All right, it was 2.71. Like even on day one, it was pretty much a standout bag with Joel just a little bit behind you. It looks so. First place overnight. That's pretty exciting. What were you thinking? How were you? Did you go home and tie all your knots, and what you get up to?
Yeah, so I guess I was under a fair bit of pressure being leader of day one, because I was also the leader of day one in the previous comp. And so the Tasmanian Kayak boys and the Launceston Angling Club guys were getting into me. Lots of comforting lines such as, surely you can't choke twice, which was good. They were revving me up. And my partner was there too. She was also fishing the comps and, was loving all the pep talks I was being given by the local anglers. So that was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was reasonably confident that if I could do what I did day one, I could probably back it up and win.
Yeah.
But knowing that I didn't move for all day on day one, and that my only game plan was to do exactly the same thing in day two, that certainly left me, open for issues. All my eggs were in the one basket, basically.
Yeah. So if it didn't work, it didn't work.
Yeah. And knowing that the weather was a lot better the second day meant that I felt I was going to be competing for space under the bridge, which I thought was going to be an issue.
Yeah, okay. All right. Let's roll into it and tell us how you went.
Yeah, so I guess it was reasonably quiet at the start, I think, because there was so many people at the bridge. But again, I think probably an hour or just over an hour and no one had hooked up. And I think some people were like, all right, it's not firing. Let's go find some fish.
Yep.
And so that only left a few people on the pylons. But I positioned myself on my favourite shallow pylon. And yeah, after just sitting there and letting it rest for 10 minutes as I retied a few things, yeah, my next cast with a risky critter got my big fish, fish for the comp. So that was really good, much to the displeasure of everyone around me who had been casting non-stop, but it was good.
Yeah.
I was relieved to get a fish in the bag. That was always my biggest fear, coming in as the leader for night one. Not getting a fish for ages is just stressful as. So I was very happy to not have a donut.
I was thinking while you were saying that is, yeah, exactly that. You've got that pressure of day one leader. You got the pressure of last time day one leader, and then you're not catching a fish for an hour or two. Ouch. But
I think that was the theme for the day. It wasn't as good a bite as the previous day.
Sure.
Every 45 minutes to an hour, I'd have a touch. So another hour rolled along and was cycling through the pylons and trying to avoid the other kayaks in the area.
Yeah.
And managed to pull another decent one. I think it was about 760 grams off of another pylon. And then I think I got two in relatively quick succession after that, one being an upgrade for the 720 or the 760, and then another one that must have been close to that 1 kilo mark as well.
Yeah.
So that made me pretty happy, knowing that I was in the high twos again. So I stayed there for probably another hour, and I think I got another good fish that was in the 900 or high eights, low nines, depending on what my scale was saying. And that was me. That was all I caught for the next little bit, and so I decided to move. I was reasonably confident that since no one else could catch a bag close to that the previous day, I was likely to be in the lead day two as well.
Nice.
So I decided to go for a paddle, see what else I could do, see if there were any places that were holding bigger fish. Ran into my partner on the pedal up, and she hadn't caught a bag yet. And since it was so windy, she didn't have a power pole. So I power poled down, and she could hang on to me for a second just so she could tie on and, have a bit of reprieve from having to paddle constantly.
Yeah.
And so as she was doing that, I had a quick flick and managed to somehow pull up another 880 gram fish in about 30 centimetres of water.
Wow.
Which I then had to release in front of her with her empty live well, which she wasn't too happy about.
That's a great story. And is it Jess that we're talking about? Is that your partner?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, very cool. But still, at least she was having a bit of a rest.
Yeah. No, it meant she could chill out for a little bit, and she was thankful to that. So I gave her a few tips and left her alone after that and went for a paddle to see what everyone else was up to. And she was able to catch a couple of fish after that, so to at least not get donated.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Let's just a couple of things with the lures. I think you said the motor oil grub. Is that right?
Yeah.
And the risky critter, what's your choice there?
Motor oil again. Yeah. So I think a lot of people cut it down. And I think for whatever reason, if you cut it down, it just doesn't, it increases the rate it sinks.
Okay.
I think a little the extra flotation from having it being the full length slows the descent when you've got a jig head on it.
Yeah.
I think it just looks great when it's, slowly falling to the bottom.
Yeah, okay. And with what brand of jig heads, what do you put in it?
I think I just won a Daiwa jig head pack, and so that's all I was running.
Yeah. Okay.
So all the bait junkies with the 2X hooks.
Yeah.
Since I was fishing around the structure and wanted to make sure I wasn't bending hooks when I was yanking fish.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that sounds fair. All right. Mate, is there anything else that we should discuss about the fishing? Is there anything I've missed?
I don't think so.
It seems pretty clear cut. Basically, you had a tough bridge bite in difficult conditions, two different types of plastics. And I think from what you said earlier in the interview, the key point would have been your positioning of the lure to get it down in the right zone. I'm sure that was key.
Yeah, I guess I learnt a lot from, so this was my 4th Hobie comp, and I'd been to both the Victorian rounds and had my first donut at Marlow. And that was a pretty good learning experience for me.
Yes.
So the following day, I did the exact opposite because I think it was all flats fishing for most of the pack.
Yep.
And then I hate that. I can't do flats. I need a target, give me structure.
Okay.
So the following day, I did that and got monster mover. I caught 2 fish, lost a couple other big ones, but they were all really big fish.
Yeah.
For 40 forks. And so that was a bit of realisation that I like structure. I should only fish structure. Don't do anything different.
Yeah.
And so that was my plan going into any place in the future, is if there's going to be structure, sit there and fish it. And even though it was quite boring, sitting looking at the same pylons for 2 days straight, it was the game plan that I was confident in and knew that I could pull off.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think an interesting thing, I don't know whether you realise that when you fish that Marlow round, you end up with 2.71, which was the same weight you weighed in on day one here.
Yeah, with just 2 fish.
There you go. That's mental. All right. For this one, mate, what did you get to take home for first place?
So I got and on top of that was the $250 for Big Brim.
Yep.
And then I got the first place trophy, which is very exciting. There's not too many of those in my house, but I'm hoping to start the collection now.
Mate, you've started with a number 1. It's pretty good.
Yeah. And then something I'm very excited for is AC ticket. I think that's going to be a lot of fun, and I think we'll hopefully get a good Tassie representation too.
Yeah, it looks that way. It definitely looks that way. All right, mate. Last thing before we shoot off, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
Yeah, heaps of people. I guess the Tasmanian Kayak Series and the Launceston Angling Club for helping put together these Hobie rounds in Tassie, and for the comps that they run throughout the year. They've certainly pushed me and taught me how to be a better fisherman. Yeah. And getting out there and practicing is awesome fun. A great group of people. And then Chris from Hobie, so he's an amazing organiser. I was saying earlier, he's a bit of a jack of all trades. He's the whole package really. It puts on a great event.
Yes.
And then I guess all the other sponsors, Boomer Creek Vineyard in particular, so they were pretty good for helping us out with bottles of wine for the prize packs and letting us use their venue from the previous comp. And then also my partner for coming down, participating. These were her first big brim comps.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit scared she was going to hate it or be intimidated by all the kayaks in the water and all the gear that people bring down and having to talk about nothing but fishing for a week.
Yep.
But no, she did great and she loved it. And I think might even get her back into these events. And she already said now she wants to learn how to catch big brim.
Nice.
So I'm very excited and look forward to doing more of these comps.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, mate. Well, look, it's been great to have a chat, mate, and congratulations on the win. I hope we get to talk to you soon.
No, thanks very much, Deethy. Hopefully talk to you again soon.
No worries. Thank you. Okay, so that wraps up the Tassie Tour for 2026. Look, I think it was a genius move to move this up into the Scamander because it seems like they wouldn't have fished certainly on the Saturday, but maybe not even on the Sunday. So everyone's down there. They've all made the effort to get there. They got to run a competition. I think that's pretty good, and congratulations to Hobie on that decision. Now, I don't think it was the most difficult decision that Mr. Chris Purnell would have had to have made, or at least the tournament director, because one, Tamika Purnell, first in the women's division, but the late penalty, I don't know what happened there, but I don't know what else to say. I'm probably going to leave it at that. Okay, so that's it for the Tassie Tour. It was pretty awesome. I really enjoyed talking about these big black brim, and it does inspire me to get down there and have a crack at them. Anyway, I look forward to tomorrow's episode. So, like, we're going to have a big week this week. I'm hoping to produce 5 shows for the week, 5 Hobie episodes. And I think we are off to Wawa Wallaga to wrap up that event. So it was actually round 3, so before these guys, but it just didn't work out that way in terms of editing. All right, thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you tomorrow on the Lure Fishing Project.
Thanks for listening to the Lure Fishing Project. For extra episodes, the Big Brim series and more, join us at the Lure Fishing Project Collective. We'll catch you next time.